I popped over to London for the day to catch up with the stellar cast of Interstellar. Yes, I'll be talking to Anne Hathaway, Matthew McConaughey, Michael Caine, Jessica Chastain, and not only that, we've got an Irish exclusive with Christopher Nolan himself. I better head before I miss these interviews.
This world's a treasure, but it's been telling us to leave for a while now.
Your daughter's generation will be the last to survive on Earth. You're the best pilot we ever had. Get out there and save the world.
Everybody ready to say goodbye to our solar system? To our galaxy. Here we go.
Look, this one goes further out there, literally out there, than any film I've ever not only done, but seen.
Yeah.
The concepts that Chris is able to realize on screen, I don't know where he gets them from, how his mind works. And I enjoyed in shooting this constantly, picking his brain about what are the rules, logistics of this world that you've created in this place, this adventure that we're going on. That was part of the turn on for me. This was a wonderful, big, wild adventure, and I got to be the pilot.
I love it. And when he called, were you surprised at all? Because it wasn't like he was on the bandwagon. I mean, you've had hugely successful movies, one after another recently, but he called you before Magic Mike or True Detective, the TV show. Do you know that kind of way? Yeah. So did it come out of the blue? How did it happen?
It did come out of the blue. I had no idea. I mean, Chris and I didn't know each other. He had come up to me probably a year or 6 months before I got the call, and he came up to me. We were at an event, and I just ran into him, and he came up to me and he goes, "Mud." And I went, "Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie." He goes, "I think you were great in it." That's all he said. Then I get a call from an agent saying, "Christopher Nolan's got a new film coming out. He's interested in you, possibly." So I didn't know if that meant me and 10 other people.
Yeah.
And then we went and had a meeting for a few hours and didn't talk about the movie at all. Just talked as men and fathers and such. And, about a week later, they delivered the script to read, and then we were off.
Well, you mentioned it as men and fathers, which I think is key to this. Is what I really liked about it. It's not just it looks amazing visually and it is about space, but the core of it is actually family and the values in that. So did that attract you as a dad?
Sure it did. Yeah, it did. We all, that's what the hook, the emotional hook of the whole film, the personal side, that everyone can relate to. And you don't have to be a father or a mother to relate to it. You can be what we all are, is we're someone's children. And we've all had the goodbye, whether it's first day of school, whether it's dad going away to work. Nothing as extreme as this, but I mean, a lot of people, I guess the closest you could say to this is somebody maybe that's going off to war or something. There's no return ticket, and there's nothing, it hasn't been done before, basically. So, and to make a promise, to a child, there's not much that's a greater incentive that a father can have than to keep a promise that they've made to a child.
Well, your family is obviously very important to you. I mean, in your Oscar acceptance speech, they're the ones you really thanked.
Yep.
So I was wondering, did you draw on real life family when you were filming some of these scenes? Because I would say I was in tears during some moments in this film. I was,
I was too, watching. It got me. It got
Did
me.
It?
Oh yeah. Sure. I don't know specifically what I did, but I know myself. I know it's got to be true that the fact that I'm a father and I've got 3 children. Sure, I know I went to set and took what things I understand about my feelings with my family and my feelings as a father and how I love my children and what they think about me, and invested some of those to Cooper to understand situations. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I usually think of, for me, it's thinking about the things that make me smile about them, the life in them, the humor, the sound of their laughter, the love that we have. I think of those, and then the idea, if any father stopped and thinks about, what if I couldn't hear that again? That's a devastating thought. It's uncomfortable even saying it. But I'm sure those invested some of what I did with Cooper.
Well, Anne, congratulations on the movie. I absolutely loved it, I have to say. I assume this was the phone rings, Chris is on the line and says, do you want the part? Yes. Or did you, or do you go, send me the script, Chris, I have to think about this?
No. And thank you for your kind words. No, this was, reading the script was a formality for me. I said yes on the phone. He said, no, you really, please come in and read it. And then I read it, and I found, and I went back into his office. I said, okay, I'm saying yes. He goes, go home, sleep on it. You don't need to.
What is it about him? Because everybody I've talked to today who's worked with him in the past says, I just say yes straight away. He's just amazing to work with. But what is it?
Well, it's a lot of things, really. I mean, take your pick. He's as talented a filmmaker as I think has ever been. He has worked out how to make a movie in the most efficient way and fun way possible. So it's all you don't really have a life because you never really do when you work, but it's nice to be able to know what you're getting. We're on set rehearsing at 7 a.m. every day. We've turned over 7:15 at the latest, and by 7 p.m. that night we've wrapped. And I mean that's pretty amazing. It's very unusual for a film set. And you would expect someone working at the level that he is working at to be a perfectionist, but and he does have high expectations, but he's a human being. He's a kind man. And I don't know, I just can't say enough nice things about him.
Another person.
I'm gushing.
Yeah, but it seems everybody is, and everybody's gushing about Matthew McConaughey. Most of your scenes are with. So you have this kind of, I don't know, a love-hate kind of relationship going on in the movie. But I wondered, I assume you get on really well in real life. And what is he like to work with? Because there's intense scenes in this between you two too.
Yeah. Matthew's so wonderful to work with. He's really easy. He's lives in his own process, but is respectful for other people's process. In the beginning, and we both sort of, like our characters, did not feel like we needed to rush getting to know each other. It's not that we kept our distance, but we just kind of let it happen organically. We were pretty close by the end of the movie, and we've continued to stay in touch since it's been gone. I admire him as much as anyone I've ever worked with, and I really I started to lean on him as a friend, which is pretty cool. But really, he's so, if he's been getting nonstop praise today, he's absolutely deserving of it. He's just wonderful.
I noticed in the water scene, which I believe you filmed in Iceland, that Matthew stays in the ship and you get in the water.
Yes, he does. Yes, I do.
And
Thank you for noticing that.
Yeah,
no one's brought that up
felt
yet.
for you, Anne.
Thank you.
Was it cold?
Colder than him, for sure. It was fine. That was a difficult location. That one was challenging because there was nowhere to sit. The only place to sit was to crouch down in the water, and that just didn't make any sense. So the crew you're standing up in thigh-high water all day long, nowhere to go for hours and hours and hours. It was not an easy set, but it's a really cool scene.
Obviously, there's so much about space and logistics of space and quantum physics and all sorts. Are you interested in that subject, and did you do a bit of research on it? And do you think women will be, girls watching movies like this, it's great to see a female astronaut in a movie?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Is. Yeah. I think that this movie has, without going into why, they have two really strong female heroes at the center of it. So that was, it's pretty exciting to see that. And I do think not just little girls, but women and men and little boys of all ages, it's a pleasure to see women occupy such important roles in the movie as they do. And physics, all that, yes, I'm a total geek. I was interested in this before the film. This has just deepened my interest.
Well, the thing that drew me to the project was the relationship between a father and his children. I have children myself. It's something that obviously is very important in my life. And so that was really my point of interest in the story. I mean, the story is about a massive journey. It's about a momentous event, in human evolution, the idea that mankind will have to find our place in the wider universe. But really, for me, it's about the emotion at the heart of it. It's about that relationship between a father and his children.
Okay, and for the movie, you actually built these spaceships, right? And I read that there wasn't much green screen, if any at all, used during the making of this. So first of all, how on earth do you do that and make it look so good? And why would you do that?
Well, I mean, from a selfish point of view, it's really boring shooting green screen. I mean, it's depressing to go to work and not be able to photograph something other than, foreground or just the actors. And you want the actors, these are great actors, they can imagine anything you want them to imagine, but they can make more informed choices if they could be sitting in the cockpit of the spaceship and actually look out the window and see the black hole there. And so we decided we wouldn't do green screen. We'd try and create cockpits, for example, that were like simulator rides, not like sets. So the ship's really reacting to what's going on around it. You could go through the whole sequence, seeing what's out the window and all the rest. And we were able to then shoot the film documentary style, just sort of grab a camera and, you know, grab bits of the action. I think that feeling of reality benefits the story in that it just allows you to believe in what's going on. There are some very mind-blowing and very otherworldly things that go on in the film, and so if we can find a way to really take the audience on that journey so that they're believing it and they're in that in the moment, that's the ultimate prize, really.
Okay, and when did you decide Matthew was right for this lead role as Cooper? Because you cast him, I believe, before the McConaughey sons, as they call it, before he was in all these Dallas Buyers Club and True
We
Detective
did,
and
which makes us look very smart.
It does indeed.
No, I mean, the reality was, you know, we knew Matthew was a great actor, but I mean, he fit the part so wonderfully because we were looking for this pilot figure, this, you know, Chuck Yeager type, you know, somebody with the right stuff. The little bit of the cowboy about him. It's a very American, iconic figure, and nobody fits that the way Matthew does. And it was wonderful that he said yes. Because the other thing is, we needed somebody who was a great actor, but also has that charisma, that ability to draw the audience in emotionally. Because this has to be an emotional journey for the audience, and so they need a guide through all that. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. There's a lot of outlandish action and really exotic environments that you go to. You need a human guide through it. You need someone to keep you grounded.
Okay, and how did the actors react then to the different, when you told them, well, we'll be throwing dust in your face, we'll be in freezing water in Iceland? Did they take it on the chin and kind of go, brilliant for the movie, or were they...
Well, the thing you do is you don't tell them. You just they turn up to work and that's what's going on, and that way there's no time to back out.
Yeah.
But no, I'd worked with, you know, Anne Hathaway before, for example. I mean, she's an incredible trooper. Like, I knew she'd handle anything we threw at her. And within minutes of meeting Matthew, it's apparent that he's up for anything. I mean, he like all great actors, they love the challenge. They love the ride themselves. You know, they're going through a life experience as their characters are going through an experience. And I think they all really enjoyed that.
10.
We must confront the reality that nothing in our solar system can help us.
9.
I've got kids, Professor.
How long?
Would I be gone?
8.
I'm asking you to trust me.
7.
Murph. You have to talk to me, Murph.
6.
I need to fix this before I go.
You have no idea when you're coming back.
5. Main engine start.
Couldn't you have told her you were going to save the world?
No.
4.
When you become a parent,
3.
one thing becomes really clear.
2.
And that's that you want to make sure your children feel safe.
1.
Brilliant film, but for you working with Christopher Nolan, obviously, is no new thing.
No, it's not a new thing. No. I've worked with Chris. Everything he did since he started the big pictures. You know, after Insomnia and the other one, I've been in every film, and I mean 3 of them. It's obvious I would be in because I played the butler in Batman. So if you're going to have, if you make a good job of it, which I hoped I did, I got all 3. But then he made Inception, Interstellar, and Prestige, and I was in all those. But if you think about a script, there's always some older man in it who's doing something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, if there's an older man in it doing something, it's me. And there's been an older man in it doing something.
Is it a compliment that he keeps casting you as that character? Because you're always the wise one. You're always an educator or a trainer or something.
Yeah, always. Yeah. Well, even with Batman, he wasn't just the butler; he was the foster father, because Batman was an orphan. And the part was that, you know, I didn't come in saying dinner is served and bring in pastries or something like that. I was always into some kind of row with him over his conduct or something, you know. So I was like a real father to him. And I've been that father figure in the pictures ever since, even in this. I mean, I play Kip Thorne, who discovered the black hole and everything, you know.
Yeah.
And I grew a beard to look like him, but I didn't know anything about Kip until I met him on this picture.
And did
but
you know
he
about
was still the guy who arranges everything, you know. He's like the dad figure.
Yeah, with over 50 years in the business, much more. There's rumors out there of retirement, and I'm hoping you're going to confirm to me that these are not true.
Well, no. What happened was I got misquoted, as one does. They said, "Are you going to retire?" I said, "I've retired 30 times, but every time another script comes up, you know." Yeah. What am I doing now? I'm going to do Now You See Me, the sequel for another movie I did before, you know.
I have 2 scripts for next year, which I won't even bother to talk about. We're not here to do that. But no, I'll be around for a while yet, unless I drop dead. If you read that I've dropped dead, I'm not doing any more movies.
We'll know you've retired then officially.
Retired.
This is unlike any movie I have ever done. But I knew that going into it too. I knew that, I'm a huge fan of his work, and I remember Inception and how incredible that was, all of his films. I knew the visuals were going to be out of this world, and this, of course, reading the script, I knew the science is mind expanding. But what I was so pleased with on set is his attention to detail in terms of the human relationships. And as an actor, that's what I'm mostly interested in, is that human aspect of each film.
Okay, and looking behind you, the dust in this movie, I actually felt uncomfortable when you were watching. I had that feeling of, when you're at the beach and you go home and you can't get that sand away. Yeah. Was it like that on this?
Welcome to my life.
Oh, really?
Shooting this film. My character deals a lot with the world that's covered in dust. So they had created this material made from cardboard, biodegradable, and they chucked it at my face every day.
Chucked it with probably fans or something, was it?
Huge fans everywhere, and every time we were outside, it was just getting chucked at you.
Jeez.
But, I prefer it. I love working with practical sets, practical props. I prefer, sometimes you hear things about someone did a scene and then they throw in some special effects later that the actors didn't get a chance to react to. I like to actually react to what's in front of me.
There's already Oscar buzz about this movie and Oscar buzz around you, as always it seems this time. Would you like to have an Oscar on the shelf, and with all this Oscar buzz, does that just add pressure to the situation? Are you kind of like, if I get $1,000, leave me alone?
I think it's an interesting thing, because when I first had movies coming out in the theater, to get nominated it's like life-changing, game-changing, especially when you're coming onto the scene so late. But you never know what the formula is. Some of my favorite performances have never been nominated. Okay. I remember when Marion Cotillard did Rust and Bone, I was like, oh, that performance is just exquisite. And then she wasn't even nominated. Or Shailene Woodley for The Descendants. So
Okay.
It's something you have no control over, but when it happens, it's like, wow, that was great.
Well, listen, you're brilliant in it. I think you're quiz in, but thanks a million for coming to us, Jessica. Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
So that's the interviews done for the day. Weren't they amazing? Absolutely loved Matthew McConaughey. But the cast told me I can't leave without actually finding out what space is really like. And the nearest thing I'm going to come to it is something called Oculus Rift. I don't really know what it is. Apparently it's very scary. I'm scared of heights, so get ready for probably a good laugh as I step into the chair. If you ever get the chance to try one of these things, Oculus Rift, try one. Amazing.
We're not meant to save the world. We're meant to leave it. And this is the mission we were trained for.
I've got kids, Professor.
Get out there and save them.
You have no idea when you're coming back.
I'm coming back.
We must reach far beyond our own lifespans. We must think not as individuals, but as a species. We must confront the reality of interstellar travel.
Murph, I love you forever.